Good morning and welcome to the new edition of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Coronavirus is one of the viruses, but there is another virus, and that virus is much more harmful because of lethargy of the government, incompetence of the administration, politically correctness, and wanton bowing down to populist tendencies. This virus of protest is spreading all over the world, and the biggest victim today at the present juncture, are India and Canada. India is witnessing Shaheen Bagh protest, where the vital highway has been blocked for the last almost 2 months. Ambulances cannot go by, schools, the children cannot go to the schools, their offices, and so on. In Canada, the chaos has come and it's likely to get worse. As a matter of fact, the responsibility of these protests lies with the government to a great extent. Sometimes the governments purposely ignore it, wink at it, because they do not want to convert this protest into a conflagration, as is happening in India. It would have been very busy for the government to have ordered police to remove the barricades, have a batting charge, tear gas, and see that the people go back to their homes. But had that been done, the opposition would have thought it to be propagated it to be a violation of the democratic right to protest. No, I do not disagree that dissent and protest are the birthright of an individual in a democratic setup. If they feel hurt, rightly or wrongly is not a question. They have a right to protest. And the result should be discussions, negotiations, or the rule of the law. But when the protest assumes the form of disruption of public life, where the ambulances would not work, where the highways stop, where the trains, which are the lifeline of a nation, has to stop working, as has happened in Canada. The VIA trains have stopped, CN trains have stopped functioning. So, whom do you blame? In Canada, I would say that nobody except the Prime Minister and Horgan NDP government in British Columbia has to be blamed. Both of them have supported this anti-pipeline agitation by the indigenous people. No, I do not that the indigenous people should have been consulted. But for them to disrupt the public life is simply not acceptable, especially since the law is not on their side. It's an illegal blockade by a very small section. It's not the majority of the people who are agitated. No. It's a small faction which oppose the project, having sprung up across Canada. Now, there are small minorities everywhere, and they act as the blocking roads, railways, let's say buildings. It's a poetic justice that Horgan and Trudeau, both of them at one time, supported UNDRIP, that United Nations Declaration of the Rights of the Indigenous People. And according to that resolution, The governments must not accept any major project without the prior and informed consent of the indigenous groups. Now, this notion runs against the Canadian law, where the indigenous people do not have a right to veto, especially in a project which is an overall public good. But the Prime Minister and the Premier had their own compulsions, leanings, and they said, no, the right should be there. Fine. I don't object to the rights of the indigenous people. But in any setup, whose rights are important? If Canada is a democratic country, then the rights of majority are more important, especially since the minority is not being harmed. What would this end in? The people of Alberta would be hard hit. And if they are hard hit, would that they not have a right to have a counter protest? In music, we used to hear point, counterpoint. I remember when I was learning piano, my music teacher stressed on this issue of point, counterpoint, so that the tone and the tune which are coming up are in harmony. But protest and counter protest are basically a negation of an ordered society. Amazingly, the protests against the LNG pipeline have invoked this UNDRIP. We had a right to veto, but then they are ignoring one fact, that they are not a majority. They are a small group, a very vocal group, and they're spread all over the country. They don't belong to one nation. They don't belong to one tribe. So, do they have a right, A, to disrupt a national project, B, a project that is almost a lifeline to Alberta? No. So what's to be done? The government should have nipped the evil in the bud. You know, when the governments become lethargic or try to be ostrich, meaning thereby close their eyes to the impending danger, they tacitly are approving of these protests. By winking at them, by looking the other way, they are saying, okay, we are not concerned, we are not bothered, do what you think is right. But if the evil is nipped in the bud, then these protests would not be there. Now, to get this project moving, this pipeline moving, the only thing would have to be mass arrest and police action, which can be compulsive, which can be harsh, but then that's a must. Serious maladies need serious remedy. And the point is that Trudeau is not supporting his own authorities. He is on the one side saying the protest should not be there, but he is not permitting the police to move in. Till now, only a few people have been arrested. Total 33 people have been arrested. Protesters have received several requests, at least to remove and move away from intersections. They are not doing it. And as a matter of fact, when I came to Canada, I was quite impressed that the protests used to be in the form of a very ordered meetings, demonstrations, without disrupting the traffic, without disturbing the normal life. But this confrontational protest against $12 billion TMX pipeline is going to kill the prosperity of some people. The most important political decision has to be taken. And Trudeau has to make the right call so that the oil sands mine approval is there. Tech Frontier is the biggest oil sands project ever proposed. The $20 billion unprecedented support, this project of $20 billion is getting unprecedented support from all the indigenous groups in the area, but it cannot go. And then this project was approved by both the federal and the provincial panels after a very rigorous, very open and transparent regulatory processes. People are knowing. Last Tuesday, Justin Kenney lashed out at the government that this 20 billion investment airplane factory in Quebec hadn't been there, he said. It would have been approved by now. If the project would have been in Ontario, they would not have bothered about the emissions. They would have given the subsidies. You remember that GM got subsidies, Ford got subsidies, and here the project is not being approved. Do you remember that 2 years back only, a Quebec cement plant was given permission even when they produced 2 megatons of carbon dioxide emission. That is half the emission Tech Frontier would be producing. With double the emission, they got the approval. So why here? That clearly means that it's a politically and biased and promoted protest. As a matter of fact, if the tech project proceeds, Alberta oil sands will still be below the 100 million emission oil sands. They have got an exemption from the emissions. It will be still below that. But I am today more concerned with the protest. Should the protest be conducted in a manner to disrupt the normal life, where the patients going to the hospitals are made to wait and their condition worsen? The children cannot go to the schools. The normal civilized life comes to an end? No. Every liberty has a limitation. Let's be very clear. Let's differentiate it between liberty and license. These unrestricted protests are not a mark of liberty. Let's be very clear. As I am using the habit of saying, you have a right to swing your arm. But when your arm swinging is likely to hurt my nose, then that is not permitted. The public good is of paramount importance, and these protests are against the public good. Now, what is to be done? In every protest, before the protest comes, the government must have a consultation process, and it should be open, transparent. Still, there will be elements, mischievous elements, who will try to provoke. They have to be told in clear terms that this sort of activity would not be tolerated. Now, one thing is very clear. We normally attack the people who are protesting, and the real culprits who have promoted that protest get away. They are not bothered. Nobody touches them. As a matter of fact, the first step should be the leaders of the protests must be punished. Secondly, there should be punitive damages for the loss to the individual and to the society. And these penalties, these fines, must be imposed in two ways. One is on the leaders. 50% fines should be imposed on the leaders and the promoters. And the 50% be a collective fine on the people who are really doing, the frontline people, who are pawns. Because even the pawns have to be told, be intelligent, don't be pawns of these nasty people who have not your interest in mind, but who are using you to further their interest. So the punitive, the deterrent action has to be taken. And if we take it once, you can be sure. The next time people would say, okay, we are not interested. Usually it has been seen that more than 70% of the people in the protest are not even aware of what the protest is about. They are just there because of various reasons. And these reasons vary from place to place. I have seen the protest being engineered in India, where the people are paid their daily wages, given free food, and the protest. There can be other reasons. But as I said, the history and the research says that 70% of the protesters don't know what the real reason of the protest is. And if they are asked to talk about it, they say, no, our leader knows it. He has told us to do it. So the leaders should be punished. The people should be punished. However, as I said, there has to be a transparent process. And a special body should be set up, which should compose of leading impartial public figures and the judicial people. This body should always oversee, it should be watched over, so that nobody is victimized, and at the same time the society is protected from this nauseous protest, which are suffocating and corroding. And the sooner we take preventive action and also corrective action, the better it would be. Thank you.